How to co-parent successfully. Dustin McCrary, divorce attorney and founder of the law firm of Dustin McCrary, gives some helpful tips on co-parenting following your divorce. Hi, I'm Dustin McCrary. Thanks for joining me today. As a divorce attorney who's practiced for years, I've come to understand that many clients anticipate that divorce will be difficult. After all, few people come into this situation expecting it to be easy. For the most part, though, people expect that after the divorce is over and the dust is settled, it'll be smooth sailing. Sometimes that's true, and if you approach co-parenting in the right way, chances are much higher that it will be true. And that's what I'd like to talk to you about today. Although a divorce may mean that you and your ex-spouse are no longer married, the truth of the matter is that you're parents forever. Together, it's up to you to decide what that co-parenting relationship will be like. And if you want it to be a relationship that works well and truly has the best interest of your children at heart, you'll have to work at it. I can imagine what you may be thinking. How am I supposed to cooperatively co-parent with my ex-spouse? After all, one of the reasons we got divorced in the first place is that we had difficulty getting along and working together. I get it, and I understand. I've handled more than enough divorce cases to know how true those words can be. And yet, I would encourage you, even despite your prior difficulties, to try. There have been countless studies on child and adolescent psychology and emotional and mental health that make it clear that when parents are able to cooperate and parent peacefully together, the children feel more secure and emotionally stable. They endure less trauma and develop less anxiety. This ultimately means that they grow up with fewer emotional difficulties and higher self-esteem, which may prevent them from encountering problems down the road that they might otherwise have struggled with. In short, the effort is well worth it. First, it's important to approach the co-parenting relationship with a clear head and a realistic attitude. It's necessary to realize and accept that you aren't going to see eye to eye on things. One parent might think it's a good idea for the child to be involved with a travel sports team and regularly goes to other cities for events. Well, the other parent would prefer the child to spend more time at home, or feel that the time is better spent on schoolwork or other activities. One parent might want the child to see a certain pediatrician, while the other parent disagrees. One parent might want the child to go to summer camp in another state because the parent did that as a child, while the co-parent feels it's too far away and that the child's not ready yet. There are all sorts of areas where there can be disagreement on what's best. And getting a divorce is not going to make your obligation to navigate and address those differences go away. So the question is, how do you do it? How do you make the co-parenting relationship work? Obviously, every relationship is different, and each dynamic is unique. So some tips that work well for certain couples might not be ideal for others. Nevertheless, here are a few helpful tips. Consistency is key. As much as children love surprises at certain special times, in general, they tend to thrive on consistency. It can be confusing and unsettling to a child to have one set of rules and routine at mom's house and another at dad's house. It's preferable for children to be able to know what to expect and to have some sense of structure, despite being in two different homes. Be willing to compromise and cooperate. It's important to recognize that every healthy relationship, including a co-parenting relationship, requires that both people involved be willing to cooperate and communicate openly and compromise when necessary. Does this mean that you should give in on the things that are most important to you? Definitely not. But it does mean that you should be willing to compromise on the little things, keep an open mind, and be willing to try to understand how your spouse feels. Modeling this sort of behavior will not only help your co-parenting relationship to function in a healthy way, it will also be a great example to your children of how to maintain relationships in a positive way and work through disagreements productively when necessary. Let go of old resentments. If you've gotten a divorce, chances are high that you and your ex-spouse had your share of difficulties. There were probably things that were said and done by both of you that were hurtful to the other. That's understandable. For the sake of your children and a healthy co-parenting relationship, though, you need to be willing to let those things go. Holding on to old resentments won't change the past, and it will prevent you from moving forward in a healthy way. For the sake of your kids, work on letting those old hurts go. In the end, you'll feel better too, and you'll be glad you did. Don't involve your children in your disagreements. Despite all your efforts toward healthy co-parenting, you're going to have some difficulties and some disagreements. That's just the nature of being human. While disagreement isn't avoidable, putting your children in the middle is. Avoid the urge to criticize your spouse in front of your children, or ask your children to take sides, even though it may be difficult at times. This is uncomfortable for your children, and in the long run, it can be very emotionally damaging. Avoid it. The truth of the matter is that co-parenting isn't going to be easy. In fact, there will be plenty of times when it's incredibly difficult. Anyone who would tell you otherwise simply isn't being honest. However, the time you spent investing in a successful co-parenting relationship will pay huge dividends in terms of your children's happiness and emotional well-being, which is ultimately what's most important. Spend the time, invest the energy, make the effort. You'll be glad you did, and your children will too.